So on to part 3, artificial intelligence corrects special relativity, and we're getting on to Einstein's 1905 special relativity paper, which we're now going to correct. So it's continuing on from part 2. The chat GTP is the AI I'm using, and it's going to correct Einstein's 1905 special relativity paper. So I told ChatGPT to go ahead and correct Einstein's 1905 special relativity paper, and it replied, perfect, let's reconstruct Einstein's 1905 special relativity paper in a corrected neo-Lorentzian form, preserving all derivations and predictions but grounding them in absolute time, a preferred frame, and real physical effects. I'll structure it as if it were an actual modern paper. So the title of the paper is Corrected Theory of Relativity, Neo-Lorentzian Formulation, and it wants to give a name of the author for that, and it's thinking my name should go on that paper, but it's really ChatGPT giving what I told it to give. An abstract for that paper is, we present a reformulation of the relativistic theory of electrodynamics and mechanics that preserves all experimentally confirmed predictions of special relativity, but replaces Einstein's metaphysical postulates with absolute time and a physically meaningful preferred inertial frame. Effects such as time dilation, length contraction, and velocity-dependent light propagation are interpreted as real physical consequences of motion relative to the preferred frame, not as coordinate artifacts. So the introduction of the paper goes, classical electrodynamics following Maxwell implies that light propagates at speed c, that's in vacuum, free of the field and so forth. Experiments, most notably Michelson-Morley, show no detectable variation in the two-way speed of light. Traditionally, Einstein interpreted this as evidence that all inertial frames are equivalent and simultaneity is relative. Here we adopt a different ontological stance, and that's the nature of things. There exists an absolute time t and a preferred inertial frame, the ether or cosmic rest frame. Light propagates at speed c in this frame, and in all relativistic effects arise from physical interactions with this frame. Then goes on to the postulates of the corrected theory. Number 1, absolute time. There exists a universal time t, measurable by ideal clocks which flow uniformly. A preferred frame, it's a unique inertial frame. It exists relative to which the speed of light is isotropic. Then for the physical effects of motion, clocks and rods moving relative to the preferred frame experience time dilation and length contraction as real physical effects. Next comes light propagation. Two-way light speed is invariant. One-way light speed depends on motion relative to the preferred frame. Next comes the synchronization of clocks. To synchronize clocks, we define time in the preferred frame. Moving clocks experience a slower tick as per that formula, where there is an elapsed absolute time given by that delta t. Then you got the gamma factor is the Lorentz factor. Clock retardation is a physical effect, not a conventional choice. Then we go on to the length contraction. A rod of rest length L subscript O moving at velocity v relative to the preferred frame contracts along the direction of motion according to that equation. Contraction is real, measurable, and caused by interaction with the preferred frame. No coordinate redefinition or relativity or simultaneity is needed. Next we go on to the transformation between frames, and you consider a frame moving at velocity v relative to the preferred frame. The corrected transformations are those, and you've got absolute time still. And the Lorentz factor accounts for physical contraction and clock retardation. These transformations reproduce all special relativity kinematic predictions. Next we go on to velocity addition. For an object moving at velocity u dash in the moving frame, you got that equation. This formula reproduces light aberration, Doppler effect, and velocity composition observed in experiments. Derivation uses absolute time and physical contraction effects rather than space-time coordinates. Next we move on to the electrodynamics, and Maxwell's equations remain valid in the preferred frame. In a moving frame, the electric and magnetic fields transform according to Lorentz type formulas, but with physical interpretation tied to motion relative to the preferred frame. Phenomena such as the Michelson-Morley null resort and the fissure experience are naturally explained by physical contraction and light propagation through the preferred frame. Next we go on to the time dilation and the twin paradox. Consider two clocks, one moving at velocity v relative to the preferred frame, and you've got that equation for that. The travelling clock accumulates less proper time than the stationary clock. This is not due to relativity of simultaneity, but actual physical slowing of moving clocks. Next we go on to predictions and empirical equivalence. The Michelson-Morley experiments null result explained by contraction. Time dilation by such things as the Huffley-Keaton experiment and so forth fully reproduced, and the Sanak effect and GPS corrections naturally explained by preferred frame effects. The velocity addition, aberration, Doppler quantitatively identical to special relativity. Next we go on to conceptual advantages. Absolute time restores the universal causal order. Clock retardation and rod contractions are real physical effects. The theory is fully ontologically coherent, and that's the nature of things, is fully coherent. Relativity remains mathematically identical in predictions while avoiding metaphysical confusion, and that's the new theory. You've got, when you corrected it, there's no metaphysical confusion. So you get on to the conclusion. It's the corrected formulation preserves all predictive successes of Einstein's special relativity, restores absolute time and a preferred inertial frame, providing a clear causal and ontological foundation. Explains a clock slowing and length contraction as physical consequences of motion relative to the preferred frame. Eliminates relativity of simultaneity and coordinate only effects. In essence, this theory keeps the mathematics and experimental success of special relativity, but corrects its conceptual and metaphysical errors, producing a physically intelligible and ontologically sound framework. And there's even more, but that is now to be continued.